Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folani. Well, our guest this morning, sorry, we're coming a wee bit behind our schedule. Our guest this morning is Senator Shehu Sani. Senator Sani, as I just indicated, he's a politician. I indicated by saying that he's a senator. He's a politician, human rights activist, an author, and a playwright. A fine morning to you, Senator Sani.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Our pleasure, as always. Now, the Northern governors, royal fathers, they've met on insecurity in the land. And, well, first of all, let me take your general sort of opinion, because there has been commentary that, well, this is not the first time. Yes, it might have been, about a couple of years back when the last such meeting held. But there are those who are saying that, well, that's why I said the best thing to do is to get your perspective on this matter, because it's all about, we'll talk about some of those things, some of the things that we know that we have to provide jobs for jobless youth and that kind of a thing. Very well said, going by the empirical data. But what do you think about this whole matter, especially as it has been, shall we say, infiltrated by outright criminality of all these terrorist groups and that kind of a thing?
Thank you again for having me. Well, northern governors and traditional rulers have been meeting in the last 2 decades on the problem that is being faced by the northern region. And each time, the issues that have been on the front burner have been the issue of security and of economy and of out-of-school children. These meetings in the past has not been able to produce any meaningful result as far as making impact in the lives of people of the region or changing the narrative as it is on the ground. But this particular meeting is necessary for a number of reasons. First of all, the North has been under sustained terrorist attacks in the last 1 decade. And for the first time in the last 1 decade, there is a different and serious approach to tackling it from the federal level. And secondly, if you go by the outcome of the last End Bad Governance protest, you can see how violence became the order of the day as a result of that protest, particularly in the northern part of the country. And now everyone knew very well that the North is faced with some fundamental and basic issues that threatens not just the peace and stability of the region, but of the country. The northwestern part of Nigeria has been bedeviled by banditry, and before then it was the northeastern part of Nigeria where terrorists held sway. The issues that are on the table is a new attempt by the governors of the region, the royal fathers, and the chief of defense staff. This is the first time in the last 25 years since the restoration of democracy where a chief of defense staff has come forward from that region with a serious agenda and the passion, the zeal, and the energy in taking on security issues as far as the region is concerned. So there is no better time for the governors, the chief of defense staff, and the royal fathers to meet than now. And the resolutions that came out of that meeting actually are fundamental issues that need to be tackled. There are some that can be addressed by the governors, there are some that can be addressed by the federal government, and there are some that I believe are issues which the region has to tell itself the home truth. Security, the economy, are all fundamental issues. In all indices, Not in all indices. In population, the North is more than the South. But when you're talking of poverty, when you're talking of development, when you're talking of out-of-school children, infant mortality rate, you can see all these negative indices, including issues of health, are all issues which the North has been on the front line. So this meeting is an attempt by the region to address some problem, and there's no better way to do that than the region sitting down itself to address its problem. We have had people from the North that have been in power for many years, and they have not used the opportunity of power to address the problems of the region. And now this is another opportunity, even if the person that is in power is not from that region, but key and strategic positions under this administration are being held by people from the North. So this is another opportunity. A region that has a vice president, a region that has a minister of education, until now that has been changed. The region also had the minister of agriculture. It has a chief of defense staff, the national security advisor, and then all other positions that are necessary for the socio-economic development of the region are all factored within the levers of people who come from that part of the country. So this is an ample opportunity hosted by Kaduna State Governor Obasanjo. And if the ones in the past have failed, this one has to succeed, because if they don't succeed, it is the region going down and dragging the whole of the country down with it.
Indeed. And as you said, the meetings are not new. The seriousness of purpose, even from those meetings, people have become used to it, but unfortunately, we have very little to show for it. But the big difference this time is that, well, these are a different set of dramatis personae, and we can only hope, as you said, we don't have that many more the way it's looking. We can't go on hoping against hope that luck will always be on our side and we won't go over the brink. So maybe the seriousness of purpose following the meeting will indeed be different this time. Some other aspects were also, spoken about. You talked about development of the area generally. In this connection, I remember the meeting had the opportunity to comment on the president's tax reform bill before the National Assembly. And, as if in one voice, the communicate or the statement came forth that we are not too happy with changes being proposed for that, and they were urging the National Assembly not to approve any amendments that would, put them at a disadvantage, as it was said. But in the meantime, the Ministry of Ranching, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's continue on that path. There are those, of course, who are saying that does the North want to have its cake and eat it?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I heard you. I heard you just now.
Yeah, in the communique of the forum's communique, one issue which they have objected to was the tax reform bill, which is before the National Assembly, and I can understand their own concern. If you are reforming the tax system, where you want to give advantage to where industries and factories are located, to the disadvantage of other parts of the country. To me, I believe you are simply going to create more crisis than usual. Because, yes, 70% of Nigeria's industry are in Lagos. But where is the market for these industries? It's Kano, it's Kaduna, it's Jos, it's Maiduguri. Now, if you produce a Milo or a Bonvita, or whatever it is or sanitary pads in Lagos, the market is in Kano, it's in Kaduna, it's in Kebbi and other parts of the country. It's also in the southeast and south. So the danger of what this bill is trying to do is that it is going to generate a reaction from the other side. Because the market is as important as the manufacturing base of these things here. And if you say that because Lagos has the factory, so it should have the most and everything, they too can impose their tax on products that come from outside of their state. And who will be at the receiving end? It will be the industry and also the people. So we should understand very well that Nigeria is a developing country. Whatever we're going to do, we have to take cognizance of this a country that we are still trying to build and we are still trying to manage. It's still a potentially rich country, but it's still a poor country. So in whatever we do, we should take cognizance of the mass of our people who are poor. It's not because you are an expert in economic issues and you have studied all your lives in the United States and Western Europe, and you think that what is obtainable there is something you're going to bring in here without taking cognizance of the situation we find ourselves. And I've said it as an example. A rich man in the United States is not the same as a rich man in Nigeria. Dangote and Bill Gates are not the same people. They may be rich people, but in Bill Gates' hometown, almost 95% of the people are also comfortable, and they can also be termed as to be contented and rich. But what happens to the hometown of Dangote? A rich man in a rich country don't have poor relatives, but a rich man in a poor country is surrounded by poor relatives, poor friends, and hangers on. So what you think is practicable in a developed society where people are relatively comfortable, it's not possible to do it here, and then we have to be careful about that. But that does not mean that states should not be encouraged, or other parts of the country should also not be encouraged to do the needful in terms of making contribution to the center. But if we are moving towards a country where they said it's because something is with you, so you must, then what happened to Niger State? Niger State have about 4 hydroelectric power stations. And right now in the States, there is no light. So should they say because they have hydropower stations, 4 of them, and as such that it is only when people of Niger are satisfied before the electric power should be supplied to other states? It is not. That's what we call a nation. In the whole parts of the country, we are blessed in different ways. The north has the land, the south has the resources, the north has the population, the south has the industry. So if you look at, there is no country in the world as blessed as our country, because in all parts of the country, you will see that we have a natural blessings which we need to use for the betterment of our country. A country like Saudi Arabia have no rivers at all. Nigeria have about 230 rivers. This is a nation of ours where about 95% is arable. We have resources in almost all the states. And most of the things that are lacking in most countries of the world are available here. Whatever you can plant in any part of the world, perhaps even apple, you can grow it in Nigeria. I think even the lands that are called holy lands in our own scriptures are not as blessed as our country. So we need to only build this country. It's just like when Nigerians say, this is a colonial contraption by Lord Lugard. Which country in Africa is not a colonial contraption? All our countries are created by the French, the Spanish, the Portuguese, and the British. And they have all overcome their Lord Lugard mentality, and they are building their country. So I think it is important that whatever law we are bringing to the National Assembly whatever reform we are bringing to National Assembly, we should take cognizance of the need for the unity, for the peace, and the collective progress of this country. Lagos industries will be nothing if you don't have markets in other parts of Nigeria. Yes, you can say that. All the industries in Lagos, are they producing for Lagosians? They are not. You find them even along the border regions in most extreme part of northern Nigeria. So tax reform should not simply be about satisfying one because you have the advantage of having the headquarters of financial institutions. If you have banks that are headquartered in Victoria Island, Lagos, okay, then we all close our account in other parts of the country so that Lagosians will open their accounts in that bank because they have headquarters in that part of the country. That should not be.
Okay. Well, okay. This is a subject matter that's going to be debated further at the National Assembly. The president hasn't sent the reform bill there, but with the advice from the eminent persons who have spoken already, they have been urged to reject it. But the new ministry that has to do with the development of cattle agriculture, whatever, how is it properly expressed, they say that is very much in order. And I don't know if there are some aspects of what you've just said that could be sort of turned back. The North doesn't consume all the not even all, doesn't consume most of the cattle that it produces, does it?
Well, you see, the issue of livestock is something we should not look at it from the points of herdsman or Fulani herdsman. Go and check and see how the livestock industry has performed well in countries like Brazil and Argentina, where they can their beef and they have made substantial progress and contributed significantly to the economy. So we should look at that from an economic point of view. How do we harness the wealth of the livestock industry for the betterment of all of us? Yeah, the North has the cattle, but the market also is in all parts of the country. It's in the southwest, south-south, and the southeastern part of Nigeria. And that ministry is not simply for Fulani people like us. It is a livestock ministry that was set up by this administration for the development of the livestock industry and for the whole country. So it's not a ministry that is set up to appease or please the headsmen. So it is for everyone. And I must commend the establishment of that ministry for the economic relevance of that, because this is the first time in the history of Nigeria where you separate livestock from agriculture, because putting them together has not been able to produce any meaningful result. Most ministers of agric are simply being seen as minister of agric, and they are overwhelmed by agricultural issues and ignore the livestock sector. Many countries are making billions and billions of dollars from livestock. You can see Netherlands, you can see Belgium, you can see a country like Switzerland, how much they are making from butter, from cheese, from milk, from beef. So you compare it, they make more money from that sector than the money we make from oil. So that is simply the good side of it. It's not everything that we read political meaning to it. And it's good that the president who has set it up, is not from the northern part of Nigeria and is from the south. If we develop that industry where these herdsmen or cattle breeders can harness and make money and for the country and for themselves, and it will be in the best interest of the country. I can remember during the Babangida time when Professor Juba Aminu was the Minister of Education, they set up what is called the Nomadic Education Commission. Yes. That Nomadic Education Commission was an attempt to educate the nomads and also bring them to modern life update their techniques and also streamline them into the economy. But the commission was underfunded and simply treated as another bureaucracy. And the vision of that commission failed because it was not taken seriously. Most of these bandits today that have bedeviled the northwestern part of Nigeria, kidnapping people, killing people, making life unbearable for people living in rural communities and commuters and all what you have, were all products of the failure of the country to bring along those who live in rural areas, the Fulanis. And this is what we are paying the price today. So if someone, the president today, has now set up a livestock industry that will empower those people in the rural areas to also be productive with wealth, with education, with so many things, we can have a peace. So it's it has also not only an economic prospect, but it also have the prospect of making a long-term contribution to peace in the country. So that is my own take on that.
Okay, Senator Sonny. Okay, we'll take a break. Politician, human rights activist, and author. Good morning, Mr. Joshua in Irewolede. You've just called in. Go ahead, please. Mr. Joshua in Irewolede, good morning. Yes, sir. Good morning. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
And greetings to the senator.
Okay.
Hello, Uncle Yori.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. This conversation this morning, I just thank you for giving direction to the conversation. I was going to say that the senator was being political on his comments on the tax reform, but you have given it a direction which is helpful. You balanced it up by bringing up the livestock ministry, which is a huge industry that will benefit the North. I want you to see the tax reform from the point of attempting to develop Nigeria evenly. Like he rightly admitted, some parts of Nigeria are not properly developed. It doesn't mean that the tax reform are actually giving more revenue to where the industries are sited is going to put the North at a disadvantage. That's not true. I think the little I have seen about it is trying to encourage the regions, the way we have had it before, to really pay attention to developing themselves. So we shouldn't be political about this matter. I think we should take it from the point of economics and look at it from the human angle of giving everyone in Nigeria the opportunity, the platform to develop at a pace that is suitable for the resources that are available to them. No one is disadvantaged when it comes to this tax reform. So I really love the fact that you put direction to it. Let's not be political about it. Let's be objective. Let the regions, as they have resources, pay attention to developing themselves. That is the way Nigeria can develop. Finally, Uncle Yori, I want to plead with you on this program because you've been very helpful to us. You see, this government is disconnected from the people. I don't know why. The president needs to pay attention to it. Look at Dangote saying, I have fuel, private hitman, Dangote refused to register them, this and this, everybody just talking back and forth. There's no direction. The president is a man of competence, and he should be able to monitor what is going on with his government so that it doesn't just get disconnected and everybody is just saying things here and there. Nobody knows the direction that the government is going. Please, let that be addressed, Uncle Yori, please.
Okay. All right, then. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Joshua, for calling in. Okay. Senator Sonny, the other thing, you touched on it at the top of the program. I want to go back to, and it's also a concern to the governors, the northern governors, the 19 of them, and royal fathers there. And that's about the criminality that is bedeviling the area and the lack of rest, lack of peace. You can't do very much if you don't have peace. And it's attributed to a very large youthful population that really is, how does one put it? It's easy. It's easy, it is thought, to, you know, misguide them, misdirect them, and make them that's where the bulk of the criminality comes from. It is alleged, theoretically. Let me get your impression on that. And it's as old as these meetings, the subject matter is as old as these meetings have been holding, without the Almajiris, for instance, as an issue. It's an endemic part of the North. I don't think anything is going to shift it. But the part of education, you've also touched on that very lightly before. Would you like to look at that whole area and the challenge it gives us, and the seeming inability of the northern, royal fathers and the governors to affect it very much? What do we do? How can we come out of this quagmire?
Well, you see, first of all, I will answer that, but I want to correct one impression. There is a certain mentality in the country that goes by the thought that the North is poor and the South is rich. I think that is wrong. That is not true. Nigeria is a poor country, and there is poverty in all parts of the country. Mm-hmm. And you can't, because
you called it a mentality. I mean, you called it a mentality.
Yes.
In Nigeria.
You can, hold on.
We haven't said that on the program.
No, I know. I'm not talking of this program. I'm talking generally. So you can't come to my state, Kaduna, and said the people of Kaduna are poorer than the people of Oyo State. Now, the point is that if the North, the problem with the northern part of Nigeria is that the political forces and the political elite refuse to stand up to their leaders when they were in the position of power. When Northerners are in power, for ethnic and sectional reasons and religious reasons, the political elite there to keep quiet. They support whatever the president does, and even if some of us try to speak, we are being stand down, criticized, or attacked for speaking out. Well, we have this kind of thought that if the person comes from your own place, whatever he does is right. And that is why for decades, even since the time of Babangida, Abacha, and Buhari, you will not see vehement criticism. And if you don't criticize, you don't hold government to account. And you allow them to do what they want because they are your own kids and kins. And so the North have been supporting their own while their own have not been doing what they're supposed to do for the region. Just recently, I read a comment by someone who was saying that because of these power blackouts in the country, he said Lagos has 8 power stations and the whole of the North has 3. Then I asked him, these 3 stations in the North and the 8 in Lagos were not constructed in the last 15 months of Tinubu administration. Our own brothers were in power. They were the ones who were supposed to have built all this infrastructure in the North, and they failed to do it. So if there were 8 power stations in Lagos, they were certainly constructed by Northerners who were in power, and there were 3 in the North. It's because those in power decided that there should be 3. Buhari was in power for 8 years. He made promises about Mambila for hydroelectric power and left with all nothing. So this is what we see. So if the North wants to move forward at this time, it should emphasize on developmental matters. And if by the opportunity a Northerner comes to power, it shouldn't be like in the past again. There should be priorities on what needs to be done. The person in power today is from the southwestern part of Nigeria. And the last person who was in power before this was Obasanjo. But you can see how the Southwest have been critical about someone who even come from their own part of the country. If there is protest in the country today, the most effective one will come from the southwestern part of Nigeria. That is the culture. That's how we're supposed to be. During Buhari administration here, any form of protest will be seen as, in the north, will be seen as if you are making an attempt to bring down a government that's supposed to be supported by people. When I was in the Senate, each time I stood up to speak about insecurity in the north, the killings, the kidnappings, it is the northern senators that comes after me, that I'm trying to damage or destroy or spoil the name and image of Buhari, and we are supposed to back him or whether he did wrong or right. Now they kept backing him, and this is where the backing has led us to at this time. So the issues of the north are clear. There should be emphasis on out-of-school children. Education should be a priority. Agriculture should be a priority. Development of mineral resources should be a priority. Human development should be a priority. And the most important thing is, how can we address the problem of insecurity? These bandits that are killing people, that are kidnapping people in the northwestern part of Nigeria, are not from Mali, they are not from Niger, they are not from Congo, they are not from Mozambique, they are not also from Malawi. They are from the north, they are northerners. Everyone knows who they are. So if the north wants to address its problem, is to reach out to them directly and bring this problem once and for all. It is for the north to solve its own problem, and this forum should be aimed at doing that. The issue
one moment, Senator. I do beg your pardon, Senator. No. I beg your pardon for interrupting you, but somebody has been holding on for close to 5 minutes. Let me just bring him in. Good morning, Mr. George, and thank you for holding on.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning.
And, good morning to the respected Senator. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes. Uncle Yori, it's gladdening to see that the northern governors and royal fathers in the north are sitting down to discuss insecurity. This is something they should have done some 12, 15 years back. But they say it's better late than never. In the southwest here, where I live, I remember when this insecurity was trying to infiltrate from the north, the governors and traditional rulers and all the elites in the zone, they put political differences aside and got together and met in Ibadan. Both PDP governors and APC governors and all the elites in the region, they met. That was what gave birth to the establishment of Amotekun, including other security strategies. Okay, I remember I was still the CBA chairman of my community at that time. Immediately, I got a directive from my local government chairman, that all CBA heads would fish out security threats, elements who are a threat to security in the area. We must fish them out and report them to security agencies. Those were efforts to make sure that something bad is prevented or minimized. But that is not the case in the north. 2009 was the beginning of this thing that came back to Boko Haram, when that Mohammed, forgetting his full name now, was going about, and the team metamorphosed to what became Boko Haram, and now graduated to banditry and kidnapping. The traditional rulers and the governors there didn't come together at that time to nip it in the bud. We even saw a situation where, at a point, traditional rulers were even giving titles to the bandits. That is to encourage the thing rather than discourage it. We have situations where even when the army and the security forces came in, the community members were giving information to these bandits to waylay and ambush our security men and kill them. So If there was concerted effort among the governors and the traditional rulers as they are doing now, if they had done it at that time and they face it squarely, insecurity will not have degenerated to the level it is now. Okay. I am encouraging that they should, continue with what they are doing now and enhance it and make sure it is giving a total effect. With the support, the genuine support of traditional rulers, you can arrest insecurity because they know them. These people live in their communities. They know them. They even know all the names of the bandit members and their leaders.
Indeed.
Thank you, and good morning again to the Senator.
Thank you very much. Very much in line with what the Senator had said earlier on this particular aspect of it. Senator, the subject matter is so wide and we don't have the time. So even if it doesn't follow logically, I'd just like to slip in something that I really would like your commentary on. Dave Umahi, the Minister of Works, he's recently been under heavy criticism from, shall I say, your constituency. I'm talking about the Senate. That is where it came from. Even though you are, a former senator, it still is your constituency. And he was surprised. He said embarrassed, not to mention pained. What do you see about that whole matter? Because he has said that the federal government is indeed doing its utmost to combat road deficits, but he was criticized from the Red Chamber as probably not doing very much that is that recommends him.
Well, first of all, I read the comments by a member of House of Reps on the performance of the Honorable Minister David Umahi.
Yes.
Where he was critical of his own record.
Oh, yes. It's Adiremi Abbas.
Yes. My view is this. I don't know the statistics the honorable member was using, but from my own position, I can make these points in brief. First of all, if you can remember, during the time of Tony Anini, when he was the Minister of Works, it was a time the idea of Lagos-Calabar highway was muted. Then for almost 2 decades, that idea was still on the pipeline. It was never a project that actually took off from the ground. It was mired with controversy. This is the first time a Minister of Works and a president that has a passion and interest for the job have initiated that project, and it has a specific timeline for conclusion, and the project is going on as testified by people who live along that stretch of a road. So that is a solution to a problem that has been there for 20 years. So what does David Umahi did that is wrong? Badagry-Sokoto Road was a road in conception right from the First Republic. That is over 50 years ago. We read it in our history books, how a road is being conceived to be constructed from Badagry to Lagos, which is a vertical stretch of our country. For the first time in history of our country, a minister has flagged off that project that will open up those communities, create jobs, and make it easier for people to transport goods and for services along those states within that borderline, which is a very important artery for the economy of our country. Suleja to Mina Road is a road that has been under construction for 19 years since the time of Obasanjo. You can see what is happening today. The most controversial project is the Abuja-Kaduna-Kano Road that was said to have been in construction even since when I was in the Senate. That was a project that was initially given for about 150 billion or so. And then before Umahi came, it was inflated to almost close to $1 trillion. And for the first time, we had a minister who looked at construction cartel in this country and tell them face to face that I have revoked your contract for lack of performance and I'm re-awarding it. And he saved this country over 300 to 400 billion. That's all facts on the ground. And many communities in this country can attest to seeing the minister visibly checking roads and working on them. This is a minister that was just in power, in office in the last 1 year. Where were they for whole 8 years of Buhari administration? Where were they for almost about 20 years when all these roads were uncompleted and they're now receiving attention for them to see this is what they are. And for what I know, the Lagos-Ibadan road has been in construction since the time when we were born in this country. And it is now a history. The one of Abeokuta too has been receiving attention. This is a man who is in office for almost 12 to 13, 15 months. So it is wrong for us to bring a man down for one reason or another for all that he has been doing. And Works Ministry is such a ministry, when they demand for funds, these are things you can see visibly on the ground.
Okay,
So
I
heard him saying that the man should not talk about resources, that they have allocated 300 billion to him. 300 billion, when you look at the volume of the roads and expectations in the country, how will they be able to serve all those things there? So let us be fair when we have to put such issues into
Senator, let me quickly bring in Izuagbe. Again, you know, I was hesitant to interrupt you. Mr. Izuagbe in Abuja, are you still there?
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Apologies for keeping you waiting. Go ahead now, please.
Yeah. My name is Izuagbe Ibrahim, calling from Abuja.
Okay.
Good morning, the Senator Deosani.
Good morning, Izuagbe.
I want to commend you for your forthrightness at all times, and commend the Northern Elders, governors, for convoking a security meeting. Insecurity in this country today has become a very wildfire. That started with the Boko Haram in the northeast and has spread across the entire nation. Just last Sunday evening, I come from Edo State. Irian Okpodi is an immediate community to my village. The Reverend Father was kidnapped in that community at about 7 p.m. in the evening.
Okay.
I don't think till now
I dare say
he has been released.
Mr. Izuagbe, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I've got to come in. Mr. Izuagbe in Abuja, I'm so sorry that I've got to come in, but we desperately wanted to include your comment in the program. In fact, we've used up all the time, so much so that the respected Senator Shehu Sani will not really be able to comment on, your contribution. As you said, the forthrightness, is what you wanted to commend, and you did that first of all. And I want to thank you for it very much, Senator Shehu Sani. We've run out of time completely, but indeed, we are grateful that you made time for us this morning to look at this current affairs matter as it is, as it is hitting us. Thank you very much, Senator Shehu Sani.